Bang! Neeves Knives, I'm Jared, and today we're talking about knives that are difficult to fail, meaning the action that they have is difficult to fail. So, starting, and we have a long list of them, so I'm going to try to get through them as quick as possible. This is the MAXACE ZEALOT 3. Now, one reason why it has such good flipping action is because of the position of the flipper tab and it being so big. And listen, this counts only if I'm not trying to cheat, because I can cheat and fail. Well, maybe not this one, but I can cheat and fail most knives. This one's, there we go. But if you just put your finger on the flipper tab and pull down, will it not, or is it difficult or impossible to not fail or to fail? Yeah. Okay, next is the Rake M126TZ. That's a mouthful. Now, this one's kind of the same way, and it's got a nice stout detent. So just the position of the flipper tab, it kind of goes at an angle, and then you have somewhat of a weighty blade. It's not super thick or anything, but it has a little bit of weight to it, and you know, it is a tanto, so a little bit of weight out there at the front end, and yeah, it flips really, really good. Not my favorite knife in the world, but the action's amazing. And it does have the beta lock right here. That's so you can lock it so it can't disengage during hard use. I don't recommend it though, as far as using hard, with hard use. Next is the Ferrum Forge Crux. S35 titanium frame lock, and what makes this thing awesome is Ferrum Forge's flipper tabs. They have very comfortable, very useful flipper tabs. It kind of gives you a platform to push off from a distance away, or not a distance away, but you see how it kind of pokes out. So you have a ton of leverage, but even if I just pull down on it, it works great. So fantastic flipping action on the Ferrum Forge Crux. Next, now pulling up a couple front flippers really quick. Now, it's really this one. This one I can fail easier than this one, but they're both difficult to fail because of the Justin Lundquist designed front flipper, how it kind of pops out the top like a mohawk. You kind of just pull your finger. You use it just like a regular flipper almost. You just kind of pull back, kind of like lighting a lighter. But as long as you use it how it's intentionally designed and you don't try to stop it like that, it's going to flip every time. And super snappy too. Same thing with the top flipper, or with the thumb. So, and this one's even more so, and the reason why is because this thing is a pure guillotine. Like literally this thing is insanely smooth. Like when you get it in hand, you're not expecting it to be so frictionless. Like it just drops. So because of that, when you break the detent, it does the same thing in reverse, to open up. It just flies out. So this one's in 20 CV G10, and this is the Kaiser Dilorme. Great access to the lock bar, great knife, and this is very affordable for 20 CV. This one was the KANSEPT REVERIE. Couldn't remember the name for a second. The KANSEPT REVERIE, and this one's in Damascus titanium with the I think it's Emerald G10 or something like that. Tiffany Blue G10, I think that's what it is, Tiffany Blue G10. But there's a bunch of different examples of this, even in budget options and 154 CM with steel liners. This is the premium option. Next, the Kaiser Mini Critical. This thing, man, lots of Kaisers are like this. So, I could pick out probably more Kaisers than what I put on this list for sure. But this one, man, it's very difficult to fail. And they also have this in a thumb stud version as well that you can get. That's a more budget-friendly option in 154 CM. This one's in 3V and my CORTA for right around $99, I think it is. Good access to the lock bar, very smooth on the drop, but the flipper tab is nice and big. And even though when you look, you're like, how can it be so good when the flipper tab's all the way down here? But look at it, it lifts up and then goes over the top. So it's actually, you're pulling leverage from up here, not from back here. And that's why it flips so good. So that was the Kaiser Critical Mini. Next is the Savivi Keen NADDER. Now, this one has dual action. So a lot of knives with amazing or with strong detents that are difficult to fail are not going to have a thumb stud deployment or a reverse flicking hole deployment, but we do have a bunch on the list that actually do. And I wanted to pick out some of those, some that have dual, multiple deployments. And this one is one because, again, the flipper tab is so much higher. The leverage point is so good on it, at least on this example that I have. And you still have the reverse flick and the thumb flick from the thumb studs. So you have 3 forms of deployments right there. And this is the Savivi Keen NADDER. I think it's in N690 steel with a dual ground recurved tanto. You can see how it's got a recurve right there. It's a small recurve though. It's pretty easy to sharpen. And it is dual ground. Next, let's go to a super budget friendly. You guys have seen this on the channel. This is the Ganzo FH21. It's unfailable. This is one of the most unfailable knives you can get and is also the most affordable knife on the channel. Now, I almost pulled up some Shiro-Goroffs that I have, but I figured, like, you know, those are difficult to get, and a lot of people, you know, they're buying it for a lot more than just the flipping action. You know, that they're $1,000 knives, at least near it. So I didn't put that on the list, but this has Shiro-Goroff action. I mean, it's super snappy, very smooth on the drop, and the flipper tab is very high, and because it's kind of like a Ferrum Forge flipper tab, to be honest, and that works great. D2 steel, G10 steel liners, under 30 bucks. Next, now this one's thumb studs, and I don't have a lot of thumb stud knives on this list, just because thumb studs are almost always possible to fail, because they have to have the detent at a certain point to where it can be failed to be really good. But in this case, this is an unfailable thumb stud action. Now, of course, I can put my finger on it and stop it with trying to slow roll it, but if I put my finger behind it and I break that detent, it's kicking out no matter what. It is a straight guillotine, complete fall shut action, and that also is what helps. It has a stout detent. Look at that detent. Nice stout detent, and then it's so smooth, so once you break the detent, it's kicking. This is the Kaiser Mini TOWSER S, because there's the TOWSER K, which also has really good thumb stud action. This is even better. Next, another super budget-friendly option. This is the Sativian ST103. And guys, I have videos on all these knives if you guys want to look them up. I do have them. Just look up NEEVESKNIVES and then the names of the knife. And I'll have them also all linked down in the description if you want to see more details on any one of them. I'm trying to rush through this because there's a lot of them. But this is the Sativian ST103. And this is like a $23 knife or $27 knife or something like that. So I wanted to put it on the list because of that reason, because it's such a budget-friendly option and the detent is so difficult to fail. I'm going to try to fail it. It's so difficult. It flips really good. And, you know, that's the point of this video. So, yeah, great one. Next is, now we got a little bit of a price jump, but, you know, we got some more budget-friendly ones coming up, but this is the F22 kickstop, the Gerber Dharma kickstop. And the reason why this one's so good is because the flipper tab is separate from the blade, as you can see. So it kicks the blade, it kind of pushes into it, and you use it to kick the blade out. It's so comfortable, so snappy. Now, I can fail this one. Just to be honest, yes, I can fail this one. But if I use it in any way, shape, or form with any intention, it kicks hard. So it's like, you know, there's a reason why it's the kickstop, man. It kicks. So it's definitely one that's more difficult to fail. 20 CV steel, or it's M390 or 20 CV, I can't remember which one. Titanium on titanium, but there are so many options with this. This is one of my favorite knife purchases of the year. 100%. And I'm almost thinking about getting one of the CORTA and titanium versions because it's so good. But they are expensive. Next, more budget friendly, we have the KANSEPT PRETATOUT. Now, the weird thing is I have the titanium frame lock version and I have a liner lock version. I've had a couple liner lock versions, so I know that this could possibly be with all the liner lock versions. At least the couple that I had were exactly the same, as in they had stout flipping detents. Now, my frame lock version does not. My frame lock version flips very good, but it doesn't have a stout detent like this. This one, it's hard to fail as long as you flip it the way you're supposed to. Like, look at that, I skipped off of it. It's super duper snappy, but you still have the fuller and the thumb studs. Now, the thumb studs are a little bit tight and the detent is strong, but they still work good. Good ergonomics, 154 cm blade steel, micarta, and like I said, there's the titanium frame lock version of these as well with Damascus pocket clip. And I think it's a good looking knife. I love the way it looks. I just think it's such a gorgeous looking, badass looking knife. I don't want to say gorgeous. It's a badass looking knife. But the flipping action is really, really good on this one. Next is the Kaiser Gracioso. So now this one, the reason why the flipping action is so good is because it is like frictionless dropping. Like it's a straight guillotine. So because it's so smooth, it's once you break the detent, it just flies. And the detent is really good. It's not super stiff or anything. You want to make sure you keep your fingers off the lock bar, otherwise it is very stiff. But as long as you're not touching the lock bar and you just break the detent, it flies. Now there is a budget option of this. This one's the 20 CV titanium with shred carbon fiber, titanium clip and backspacer. But there is a budget-friendly option in micarta and I think brass. And then there's a G10 and copper version. And I think they're in 154 CM. It might be N690. I can't remember. So, but awesome, awesome knife and very, very good action. Difficult to fail. This one I will say is more difficult to fail than the liner lock options I have. Next, the Degnan Rose. So this is, I think it's called the Rosie or something like that. Anyways, I'll link everything down in the description. S35VN spear point hollow ground blade, very narrow. And then we have a titanium frame lock with overlays of carbon fiber, titanium clip, and then I think it's a cross-cut carbon fiber. Yeah, cross-cut carbon fiber backspacer. This is a really cool little knife. You don't see this a lot. I don't see anybody ever showing these off, but as long as you don't cheat, because if I cheat flipping this, I can let this flipper tab come around and hit me like that. So as long as I don't do that and I continue pulling down, this thing rockets out. It's very fidgety. It's almost addicting. And I kind of like how I can push this thing around like that. Now, it's not that easy to flick up, but you can do it, especially with a slow roll. But, yeah, super snappy, cool little blade. It looks cool, and it's somewhat of a lightweight EDC knife, but somewhat also of like a self-defense knife in a way. But it's a small, compact knife, but very, very cool, and it comes in cool colors. Next is another Kaiser, the Kaiser Gemini. Now, this Gemini, or the Gemini, comes in 2 or 3 different versions, meaning size-wise. So there's the titanium frame lock version, the large one, and the small one. And the small one comes in an aluminum or the micarta. And then I'm not sure if they have a titanium version of the small one. But this one is the larger version, so it's not the mini. But the flipper tab is somewhat big, but it works great. Now, I do have one of these that I've had 3 of these, and I do have one that has a lighter detent. But all the rest of the ones that I've ever tried and owned have been very stout and super snappy, very difficult to fail knives. As long as you break the detent and you don't try to fail it, like meaning like you literally cheat like that, as long as you just pull down on flipper tab, it's going to kick out every single time. And it's got good quality micarta. N690 steel, and like I said, though, there is different options of these. Even the aluminum versions, the small aluminum versions, same thing. Their action, it's snappy. They kick like a horse. Okay, now we are down to, I think, 5 left. Let's get into it. The Migaron Dharma? Yeah, the Dharma. This thing is such good flipping action. I absolutely love the flipping action. I kind of hate the front flipper. The front flipper does suck, but the reverse flick is great. The thumb flick is great, and the flipping action is amazing. I just don't care about the front flipper. I just don't use it, so it doesn't matter. I have plenty of other deployments. Super comfortable in the hand. Love the look of it. Perfect sharpening tool and plunge grind. This is one, possibly my favorite CMB made knives, because this thing, oh, it's so good. And yeah, that flipping action and sound, really cool sound to it. And the flipper tab, it's small, so it's kind of weird that it flips so good. It's just that you see how high all this leverage point is, so it flips like a champ. The CMB made knives, Dharma. Oh yeah, M390 steel, I should have said that. M390 steel titanium scales with a steel liner lock, and then it has multiple different options of the overlay. It's a faux bolster lock, but titanium backspacer and pocket clip. Very, very smooth too. Next, the Giant Mouse Ace CORTA and the Giant Mouse Jutland, both perfect flipping knives. Now, this one's done in Italy. This one's done by RIAT in China. But they feel so, because RIAT's great. You know, RIAT does a great job. So they're both super consistent. It almost feels like they were both done by RIAT. But very, very snappy. This one's in M390 steel, micarta. I love their micarta. And yeah, this one's one that as long as you're not cheating, you will not fail this knife at all. Same thing with this one. Now, this one has the reverse flicking hole as well. But they have similar flipper tabs. Not perfectly the same, but they are similar. And they kind of hook up a little bit, but not in a super uncomfortable way. So you just you have to light switch it. That's my point. And with a light switch, it kicks. So this is the Jutland in LMAX steel, micarta. It does come in a G10 option as well. Possibly my favorite Giant Mouse at the moment, or at least one of them. Both of these are crazy good flippers though. And I love their micarta. Next is the Ferrum Forge Archbishop 3.0. Again, like I was talking about earlier with this one, they got the flipper tabs down pat. The flipper tabs are so comfortable. They're so easy to push button or light switch. Like they're kind of set up for both. Same thing with this. It almost feels like it's round. I know it kind of looks like it's weird, but it almost feels round. And man, once you break the detent on this, and I've tried a couple of these, and all of them have felt the same way. So they felt very consistent from the ones I've tried. And you have a great reverse flicking action. Now, I have had a hollow grind put on mine, so it originally comes with a flat grind. But $60, I got a hollow grind done by BGM Knives. So shout out to BGM. But yeah, titanium, 20 CV, titanium frame lock. It's clamshell with a titanium milled pocket clip, very smooth on the drop, and a very addicting flipping action. This, yeah, very, very good. Now we only have one left that I'm going to talk about, and that is the Kaiser Leave. Now, these haven't been in any order at all, but this is one of, if not the best flipping action knives you can buy, especially as a mini. Now, you can get it in a larger version, but it's a button lock. Now, I will admit the button lock you can fail because it's a button lock, but if you attempt it, it will flip every time, but you can fail it, so it can't be on the list of these knives. However, the liner lock version absolutely can, because it is... it feels assisted. It literally feels like an automatic. I'm going to try to fail it the best I can. It's no way to fail it. You cannot fail this knife whatsoever. It's great. Micarta, 154 cm blade steel. Oh, no, sorry. This one's N690. N690. This one's in 154 cm. So, N690 steel, micarta, and then it also comes in G10, and it's got a deep carry clip that's inset with flat screws. Awesome, awesome knife. Man. Good looking little knife. I mean, it's small, but it's a damn good flipper. So there you guys go. Some of the best flipping knives, or some of the best knives that are nearly impossible to fail, especially without cheating. If you're attempting to flip these knives, they are going to flip every time. I love you guys. Thank you guys for watching. Peace.